Shabbat Shalom. Some of you have heard me talk about my grandmothers, Jean Hill and Doris Baumgarten. They were both pretty incredible women. Jean Hill, my mama, was a nurse. She kept a home that was a safe haven for so many kids in the neighborhood. She did all of this while navigating everything that came with being a black woman in Jim Crow in this country. For as long as I knew her, she struggled to speak, so our conversations wouldn't be too long. But my favorite memories of her were from Thanksgiving in Kansas City, when we would crowd into her house and even her nursing home in the last couple years of her life, and we would show our gratitude for one another and enjoy spending family time together. Doris Baumgarten, my grandma, was deeply curious, and she loved to explore Judaism, history, nature, photography, and more. In the small Jewish community of Aiken, South Carolina, she was the leading lady, ensuring the synagogue was a small but special place of ritual, prayer, and learning. She led book clubs and was a docent at the local historical society. My favorite memories with her were towards the end of her life, sharing with her all that I was doing in the Jewish community and all that I was learning in rabbinical school. The lessons and memories of both of these women, my mama and my grandma, remain with me to this day. Both of them were rooted in the histories of their ancestors. They were caring towards so many people, and they were passionate about their communities. Rooted, caring, and passionate. These are attributes that I try to embody from these incredible women, especially during this deeply challenging moment in the history of our world. As more and more policies come out of the White House that will hurt the most vulnerable in our society, as we watch Israel and Hamas discontinue their process of ending the war, as we navigate the ups and downs of our lives in general, it is a deeply confusing and scary time. There have been many conversations, many articles written about how we, people of conscience, people who take the matters of the world seriously, about how we should respond in this moment. How to go about this work well, in a way that is effective, but also that sustains us for the many fights coming down the road. As I reflect upon this moment and in conversation with so many of you in this community, I find myself relying on these attributes even more, attempting to stay rooted, caring, and passionate every single day. And I've identified these attributes in my grandmothers, but they are present for us, all of us here tonight, as we find in our sacred text. The Israelites, in our Torah portion this week, are continuing their construction of a new society. Aaron and his sons are set to assume their duties as the main priests for the Israelites, orchestrating all forms of sacrifices that the people must make for God. In our Torah, we read, "Ve'ata tedaber el kol chochmei lev." Now you shall instruct all who are chochmei lev, all who are wise-hearted. Asher miletiv ruach chochmah, whom I have filled with a ruach chochmah, a spirit of wisdom. Ve'asu et bigdei Aharon lekodsho lechahano li, to make Aaron's vestments his priestly clothes, for consecrating him to serve me as priest. This one verse from our Torah raises several key questions. Who exactly are these people making the clothes for the priests? And what exactly makes them chochmei lev? What exactly makes them wise-hearted? And what's the meaning behind these priestly clothes? In terms of who these people are, we receive our answer later on in Exodus. We read, "V'chol isha chochmei lev," and all of the wise-hearted women were weaving and welding and creating these vestments. It was Israelite women in particular who were the ones crafting these clothes, ensuring the work of the priest was possible and that the people could reach God and follow God's commandments. And what exactly makes these Israelite women chochmei lev? What makes them wise-hearted? To go back to the stories of my grandmothers, both of whom I would consider to be wise-hearted, these Israelite women were also rooted, caring, and passionate. And we can see the ways in which they fulfilled each of these attributes by the pieces of ritual garb that they created for the priests. For example, they constructed a metal breastplate that held 12 stones in 4 rows, corresponding to the 12 tribes of Israel. This way, when the priests would put on the breastplate, they are rooted in their history, literally carrying with them the wisdom, hope, and dreams of our ancestors. Additionally, these wise-hearted Israelite women created an ephod, or decorated apron, a long robe, a fringed tunic, and a sash, all of which go across the chest of the priest. These intricately laid layers provide protection and warmth for the priest's heart, transmitting the caring nature of the wise-hearted onto the priests. Despite each of these things being physical items, there is also a spiritual, passionate component to their intricate nature. As the Malbim, our commentator from the 19th century in Ukraine, notes about all the vestments, they really indicate inner clothes that the priests of God should wear, to clothe their souls with thoughts and traits and proper tendencies, which are the clothes of the soul. In crafting these delicate yet powerful pieces of clothing, they are providing a rooted, caring, and passionate form of living in the world, and they pass all of this along to the priests through these special vestments. As we consider the influence of these wise-hearted Israelite women and their vital work inspiring the priests, it's important for us to note the ways in which they are cast to the side in Parashat Tetzaveh. Although they fulfill an incredibly necessary role in the story of our people, they are, like many women in our tradition and modern world, they are overshadowed and underappreciated. Aaron and his sons, donning the garments created for them, become the essential focus of our Parsha. And this is not the only part of Torah in which this occurs. This month, in March, a month in which we read about the wise-hearted Israelite women providing for the spiritual well-being of the community, and in which we will hear Megillat Esther during our Purim celebration next week, we are also commemorating Women's History Month. This celebration was first declared in the United States in 1987, and since then, March has served as an opportunity for us to recognize and lift up the voices, accomplishments, and impact of women throughout history. In our Jewish communities, this includes contending with the patriarchal nature of our tradition, identifying the ways in which sexism continues to exist throughout our institutions, and, as we are exploring tonight, uncovering the voices and roles of women and non-binary folks hidden throughout our Torah. In her book, Standing Again at Sinai, Dr. Judith Plaskow, the leading Jewish feminist theologian, notes that Jewish feminism demands an understanding of Torah that begins by acknowledging the injustice of Torah, and then goes on to create a Torah that is whole. She goes on, only the deliberate recovery of women's hidden voices, the unearthing and invention of women's Torah, can give us Jewish teachings that are the product of the whole Jewish people and that reflect more fully its experiences of God. Without heeding this wisdom from Dr. Plaskow, without bringing forth the voices and roles of women in our Torah, we miss so many opportunities to engage fully in the story of the Jewish people, including this week, the story of these wise-hearted women bringing us much-needed wisdom in this challenging, scary, and confusing moment in time. I am sure that each of us here have women in our lives who we could look toward as being wise-hearted, as women rooted in their tradition, who care for others and are passionate about building community. Perhaps they are figures in our tradition, like the Israelite women from our Torah this week, or Shifra and Pua, the midwives refusing Pharaoh's orders earlier in Exodus, or Esther and Vashti in the Purim story. Perhaps they exist in history, leaders of liberation movements, or politicians, or writers, or even modern-day social justice activists. And perhaps they are family members, like my grandma and my mama, or mentors at work, or members of this community. Invite everyone just to take a moment and bring them to mind, these wise-hearted women, and bring them into your hearts. And as we each do that, as we each bring them into this space, we can fill this sanctuary with wise-hearted people. Just like the Sabbath bride that we welcomed a few moments ago, we can welcome them into this space. And with these incredible, wise-hearted women surrounding us right now, filling our hearts and our minds with inspiration for the days ahead, the question for each of us here tonight, the question is, how can we, each and every day, take on the intentions, actions, and focus of these wise-hearted ones? How can we approach the chaos and fear of the current moment with the ability to stay rooted in our tradition, to care for others in our lives, and to demonstrate passion for building the world as it should be? The wise-hearted ones among us, they are providing us with wisdom. Let us seek them out, take on their spiritual guidance, and continue the work of living each and every day with wisdom in our hearts. Shabbat Shalom.